So guys, we're going to start SQL Server. It's a kind of interview preparations. However, when I say interview preparation, it also goes with your very practical knowledge of session one. Each and every content part we are going to cover up, right? I'm aware of all such questions which has been asked in the interview, though we have covered in the class, but I'm just adding them as a theoretical part into this entire content. So let me go for starting this session one. So I believe everyone knows about how to go for installing SQL Server. You can easily go to Google, write that I want to go for installing SQL Server. It will give you Microsoft site how to go for installing it. Very importantly, we should know why SQL, right? So what I'll do here, guys, let me go for creating your new query. And I'll be saving this query. Session one. I just keep it here called SQL session one code. Done. So now, first thing is that we need to understand why SQL, right? So normally what happens, guys, this is very important thing that we should know. SQL is called structured query language, right? So what happens? The data which is being stored in the backend database, it's a digital platform, right? If you're going to any website, let's say you're going to Yatra website, you're going to Flipkart, Amazon, the moment you tick and select some product that you want to buy, whatever tick you are doing in the backend, there's a schema that is called a database server where data is being stored, right? It could be Oracle, it could be DB2, it could be Teradata, it could be big data environment, or it could be SQL Server. So we are going to talk about SQL Server here because if you know the SQL programming, you can hit into any SQL programming language in this world for database. So if somebody is going to ask you tomorrow, guys, what is SQL Server? I just copy and paste the theory for you. I will read this also. It says, if somebody is going to ask you why SQL Server, you can say SQL Server is a relational database management system developed by Microsoft. But SQL has been developed by whom? IBM, right? It is designed to store, manage, retrieve data efficiently and securely. That is the reason why people they used to buy SQL for the database management. SQL Server uses an enhanced dialect of SQL called as a transact SQL. For example, you're writing a SQL program to retrieve data. You're writing select queries. You're writing syntaxes, which is used in SQL. That is all about TSQL, which is called transact SQL, right? It provides features such as compliance. What is called compliance? If you're working into a database, there is a certain rules and regulations we have to follow. You cannot create a table with multiple records, duplicate records. You cannot create a table with duplicate columns, right? Certain rules and regulations. These columns should have, these are the data types. These are something called rules and regulations, which is a protocol about a database, right? So it is called that it has to follow with the ACID compliance, backup and recovery mechanism, replications for the reporting services, integration services, analytical capabilities. So SQL is not only about keeping data. SQL can also be used for manipulating, summarizing, creating reports, using business intelligence, data warehousing platform as well. These are called analytical platform. So what are those analytical platform that we are using? That is called SQL Server reporting services, SQL Server integrated services, SQL Server application service, analysis services. So SQL Server is widely adopted across industries and for applications ranging from a small database to large-scale enterprise solutions and data warehousing as a solution to every other organization. So if you roughly say that, what is SQL Server? You will say it's a relational database management system. What we are using in SQL, we are using transact SQL to querying and retrieving the data from the databases. Clear now? We use SQL Server for analytical purpose. What is the analytical purpose we are using for? For creating reporting services, for creating integrated services, or for creating analysis services, which is called SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services, SSIS, SQL Server Integrated Services, SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services, and the program which you're writing that is called SSMS, that is called SQL Server Management Services, right? So we have 4 components in SQL Server. What are those components, guys? SSMS, right? Second one is called, guys, what? SSRS. Third one is called, guys, what? SSIS. Fourth one is called, guys, what? SSAS, right? So what is SSMS? That is called SQL Server Management Services. Are you getting it, guys? Are you getting this? Now,
Yes,
what
sir.
is SSRS? This is called SQL Server Reporting Services. Are you getting it? Then we have something called SSI, that is called SQL Server Integrated Services. Now, what is called SSI? This is called SQL Server Analysis Services. These are the major component, and we call this SQL Server component, which is called Microsoft Business Intelligence, MSBI applications. Is this clear to all of you guys? Okay. Now, if somebody is going to say that if you want to start working in SQL, first you must create a database. Now, what is a database? Guys, please go on mute. Pankaj, just mute them. Okay. Individual mute. Okay. So what is database, guys? A database is an organized and structured collection of what? Data stored and managed electronically. What is electronically? Because whatever things you will write now, it is all going into electronic platforms or digital platform, right? It provides mechanism for efficiently storing the data, retrieving data, and modifying and securing data for various applications and systems. You can use SQL to be connected to Power BI. You can use SQL to be connected to Python, right? So it can be connected through the electronic or digital platform towards supporting each other, right? Database organize data into tables with rows and columns, enforce data integrity rules. What is data integrity rules? When you are storing a data into SQL Server as a table, you must follow with certain columns. You must follow with certain records. Records should not be duplicate. Columns should not duplicate. There is no interdependency in the number of tables in the database. There are certain rules and regulations we have to follow. That is called data normalization or standardization forms. Database organize data into these. Okay. Now, enforce data integrity rules, handle current access, and offer backup and recovery capability. Just in case you kept data, you deleted data, there will be something called backup data, right? They come in different types, such as called relational or NoSQL databases to accommodate various data models and the requirements. So we use database where we have to keep the data. We have to do the data integrations. We have to follow with database objects like tables to keep that data. And there is a dependency, interdependency among the tables that should be stored inside the database. Now, when you go for creating your database, do you follow certain rules and regulations database name? So whenever, guys, we go for creating a database name, we need to follow certain criteria. The first criteria says that the name length should not be more than 128 characters. Second, it's saying that database name can contain the following characters, like it must be between A to Z as an alphabet. It should be in the number called 0 to 9 inside the database. Underscore is acceptable, @ is acceptable. Number signs like hash is also acceptable inside the database name. $sign is also accepted in the database name. Now, what is the character? The first character of the database name must be an alphabet or an underscore. You cannot start the database name with any other special character or numbers. It should be starting only by alphabets or an underscore only. Next, it's saying that no special characters. Database names cannot contain special characters like space, periods, commas, slashes, or you cannot use other punctuations inside the database. You cannot say dv.analytics. You cannot say dv space analytics, right? These are the database name criteria we need to follow. Case sensitive, definitely it is case sensitive. For example, somebody has written my database all in capital. You cannot call the same thing into what? Small as my database. You cannot call by what? Small letter of my database. Are you getting it? If it is written as a case sensitive, means if it is written in capital, I should call in a capital only. Reserve keywords like select is a keyword, create is a keyword, into is a keyword, insert is a keyword. We cannot use this keyword to create a database name. No system database name, such as you cannot go for using master. Master is what is the database name? Is a system database. We cannot call the system database as your database name. Uniqueness within the same SQL Server instance, you should not have the same database name. You cannot say batch 2024-01 twice in that SQL Server, because we have to have only one database with one unique name. Here are some of the examples, valid or invalid, about the SQL Server database name. So my database name is a valid name. Sales underscore data is a database name, is a valid name. Order underscore tracking, it is also database name. My app underscore database, this is also going to be a valid name. But what is invalid name? My space database is not acceptable. @order.tracking cannot be database name because there is a period in this, there is a space in this. 1, 2, 3 orders, it cannot be because starting with numbers. Yes or no, guys? Select cannot be database because it's a keyword. Master cannot be database because it's a system database. Is this clear to all of you guys, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right. Now the question is coming, how to create a database now, right? So how would you go for creating a database? You will write the program like this. Create database, I will say SQL prep 2024. This is going to my database name. Can it be database name, guys? Yes or no? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I run this program, what message is going to throw here, guys? Commands completed successfully. So when you see the message point is coming as commands completed successfully, that means my database has been created. Yes or no? So how will you check the database? If you go back to here, if you search or refresh, you can see inside this database, your SQL Server, SQL Prep 2024 database has been created. Now let's do a test to understand what is valid, what is invalid database. Now let's do test with database name. So if I write this, create database, SQL at the dollar prep 2024, can it be a database name? Yes, it is. Dollar is acceptable, right? So if I run this query, it's saying as what? Commands completed successfully. Now tell me, guys, if I write this here, SQL has 2024, is it acceptable? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It is acceptable.
Yes, sir.
It is also acceptable, right? If I say SQL dot prep underscore 2024, can it be acceptable?
No,
No,
sir.
it cannot
sir.
be because of
No, sir.
very correct.
Sir,
So what the message is coming now here? Are you getting it, guys? Everyone? Can I use this with what? SQL space prep database? It is possible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Why it is happening so? It will say incorrect syntax. Now, can I say database name like this? At the rate SQL underscore 2024. Can it
No,
be?
sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So now let's understand this very practically. Can we call this database name like 2024 underscore this? Can it be a database name,
No,
guys?
sir.
Everyone?
No, sir.
No,
It
sir.
cannot. Okay. Are you getting this, guys? Can I write create database called master?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Can we?
No, sir.
Why it is saying?
Because our default
It is a system database.
database is master.
Because it is a system database. Now, did you understand, guys, how to go for creating a database name? Is this clear to all of you? Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now,
We can use to
What?
create a database.
sorry.
We can use hashtag in front of it. It can create a database.
Okay. So now what he suggested, if we are going to use a hashtag in front of the database, that is going to be accepted. Now let's take it.
No, it
Can
will
you see
not.
this, guys?
No, sir.
Let's try this. Does it work? It is working. Are you getting it, guys? So now, why we use hashtag, that also I'll tell you later. At this point of time, did you understand how to go for creating a database? What are the criteria we need to follow? Is this clear? Very nice. What are the default database objects, right? So very importantly, we need to understand what are the default database objects. Can anyone tell me, guys, what are the default database objects?
Database diagram, tables, views, programmability, storage, security.
It's saying the first one is what? Database diagram. Second one is called tables. Third one is called views. Fourth one is called synonyms. Fifth one is going to what? Programmability. Then query store to the service broker, storage, and security. So how many of them are there, guys, now? How many of them are there now? The default database objects are going to be 10. Yes or
10.
no? Clear now? Now, what is the purpose of using them? What is their functionality? If somebody is going to ask you tomorrow, hey, could you please tell me what are the functionality of each of these database objects? This is also important. Yes or no? What is the database diagram? Database diagrams are visual representation of the database schema. What is schema? Tables are the schema. Dot DBO. DBO dot. This is called schema, right? Okay. Schema that includes the tables, views, and the stored procedures. So in the database diagram, we mostly use for what? Understand the schema. And relationship between them, they provide a graphical overview of the database structure and help in understanding and documenting the database design, how the database is there. inside how many so inside the database diagram, how many databases are there, inside the database, what are the tables are there, what are the views are there, what are the stored procedure, you can easily find it out. That is why database diagram is very important. Second one is tables. Table are a fundamental objects in a relational database, right? They store data in a structured format consisting of the rows and the columns, right? Tables define the schema for the data, including the column names, data types, and the constraint. So whenever you store into a table, you will have a columns and records with the values. Columns will go with some constraints, right? Views is what? Views are virtual tables that presents a subset of the data from one or more underlying base tables. They do not store data directly, but derive their data from the refined tables. What happens when you save this as a table? You are occupying the memory of the SQL Server. If you're storing this as a view, it is storing as a query. The moment you run the view, it is running the query to retrieve the data from the table. That means it is not occupying any memory for you. So most of the time, rather storing into as a new table, we store it as a view so that we can optimize the process, rather occupying the memory, less memory occupancy, more faster retrieving the data. Are you getting it? External resources. External resources refers to the objects that allow SQL Server to interact with the external data sources. SQL Server can be connected to my MS Access. SQL Server can be connected to Oracle. SQL Server can be connected to Big Data. SQL Server can be connected to other database server, right? That is called external resources. Synonyms. Synonyms are called as alternative names for database objects such as the tables, views, and the stored procedures. They provide a way to simplify objects references. Especially when you say table, it's a synonyms which defines a table. Views, it's a synonyms which is used for the queries to be stored as a name of view. Stored procedure is what? It is automating the automating your codes into a stored procedure which can be executed. So you are giving a synonyms for that. Programmability. Programmability in SQL Server refers to the object that enable the execution of custom logic and code within the database. For example, if you want to interact within the tables, within the database, you want to do a query to join relationship data model or retrieving data, indexing the data, sorting data, summarizing data, you have to have a programming skills. We need to have a syntax in the SQL Server that is called programmability. Query store. The query store is a feature that captures the history of queries, plans, and runtime statistics, providing insights into the query performance. Whenever you run the query, you might have seen in the below, it is saying what is the processing time, which server you are running. This all details as a log file in the backend, somewhere it is being stored. Whenever you want to see in the past what query I run, I will always go to the query store to see the log file to understand this query was run on this table on this particular day. It took 10 minutes, it took 20 minutes, it took 10 hours to retrieve the data. That you can see in the query store. Second one is called service broker. Service broker is a messaging and queuing technology in the SQL Server that enables reliable call as a this is something called asynchronous communication between different applications or instances to facilitate the exchange of the message between the services, allowing for loosely coupled and scalable applications architecture. See, I tell you what is service broker, guys. Service broker. So when you are working into the SQL Server, when you are trying to interact with any database server, whenever you're writing any program, you get your message which is coming out here, right? This is all in the compiled form in the backend. Whenever the computation happens, it is going to give this communication between different application or instances. It facilitates the exchange of the message between the services. When you write this program, this message is coming, right? That means you're interacting with the database, whether the database is running successfully or throwing any error messages. That message is coming here. That is coming through the service broker messages. Okay. Next is called storage objects. So whenever you're storing any database or any tables inside, it occupies the memory of your SQL Server. We are all using SQL Server, which is called as your learning edition. It is not an enterprise edition. If you get into enterprise edition, you would be having extra charges for those license, right? Sir, security, definitely. If I keep my data into SQL Server, I don't want this data should be available to anyone else. Whenever I will be availing the services with SQL Server, I will be paying for that license to occupy their memory and everything, the user license, developer license as well. In such cases, I have to have a protocol or NDA for my security. So this is called security objects in SQL Server manage authentication, authorization, and auditing. This includes logins, which controls the authentication and service access. So who is accessing your database? When they're accessing database, what is the user ID? At what time they retrieve? Have they written any code to update, delete? These are all something called data definition language, DDL process, which will help us to understand who has accessed my data. Is any changes happen? Who made these changes? This is all coming through the security features of the SQL Server. So that is why whenever you go for creating any database, by default, these are the 10 database objects which are going to come in. Yes or no, guys? Right. What is the default database is active when we open SQL Server, right? So what is that default database active when you open the SQL Server, guys? It is always going to be what, guys? It is your master database. Can you see this at the top? Right? So what does it mean? If your master database is your default, database, what does it mean? If we don't refer to any database, table, or queries applicable to master database only. Yes or no, guys? Everyone, are you getting this? Now the
Yes,
next
sir.
thing is coming. How to active your user defined database. So how would you go for activating your user defined database? What
By
will you
using
do,
use.
guys?
Use.
Use and the database which we created. What database we created now, guys?
SQL prep.
SQL Prep 2024. The moment you run this query, what is happening? It says commands completed successfully. Yes or no? And you can see your SQL Prep 2024 is active now, right? How to drop a database? So how will you go for dropping a database? So
Drop database.
before that, you make sure that your database is not active, right? So you can change any of the database here which you want to use. Let's say temp database is there. Now you can say you drop database, and the database name is what? If you run this program, what is happening? It says commands completed successfully. Yes or no, guys? Now, if you go to the database and refresh, you can see your SQL Prep database is not coming. Do you see that? SQL Prep 2024 is coming? No, it is not coming, right? So, note, when we drop a database, we actually vanishing or removing completely the database with the objects. From where? From database diagram. Yes or no, guys? Are you getting this? Hence, we must have a business justification. Without having a proper business justification, and that is written in the mail, you cannot go for dropping any database. If you do that, you will be losing your job on the same day itself. Okay? So make sure that you have a written proof. Somebody has asked to remove the database, then only you can go for removing it. Is this clear? Okay. Let's create the database again. So how would you go for creating this database again now? You will write create database and SQL Prep 2024. Perfect. If you run this query now, you can see the commands completed successfully. If you go back and refresh, you can see SQL Prep 2024 is coming now. Next is how to create a table inside the database. Are you getting this, guys? So we'll talk about here how to go for creating a table inside the database. Okay. So to create a table, you write what? Create table statement, student inquiry. I will be giving this as called 2024. How would you define this? You will define the table with these are the column. One is called student ID. How do you want to call this data type of this? Varchar of, let's say, 10 characters. Right? Next would be what? Student name. That also you want to give it as what? Varchar of, let's say, 20 character long. Remember, whenever you're going to create a table, having the column, defining the length, that also occupies the memory. So we have to very much sure that I should not give student name with 500 characters. If the student name can be maximum to 20 character, I should give 20 because that will also less occupy to the memory. Then I will have age, which is called integer. I will write gender of the student, which is also going to be varchar of what? 10 characters. Then I will use the education of the student, which is also going to be varchar of what? Let's say 15 character long. Then I will use date of inquiry is a table, and I will be giving data type as date only. Then I'll go for writing the course here, which I will be using varchar of what, guys? It is going to be 10. Now this is how I will go for creating my table. If I create my table here, it says commands completed successfully. Yes or no? Now, how will you check your table here? You will write select star from the table name is what? Student inquiry. Now, what you see after creating this, if you run the query, you are just seeing that the table is created with the header. Do you have any values inside the table? No, right? Okay. So, we'll talk about here when you go for creating a table. So, how will you check your table now, guys? You'll be going for SQL prep, refresh this, going back to the tables. There are some of these system tables are there, right? So, what you have seen, this table has gone to temp database. Has it gone to your SQL Server? No, right? So what you have to do first, use the database name is what? Then after making use, if you call this program, now these will create a table inside the database here. Can you see this, guys? The table is coming here, right? So what we can say, we can see the table object has been created with the name of what? DBO, database object dot, what's the table name? Student underscore inquiry underscore 2024. Yes or no, guys? Everyone?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
see? Now, the default table objects are, what are the default table objects, guys? Do you know? What are they? If you expand this, it's saying columns, keys, constraints, triggers, indexes, statistics. So you can say is columns. Second one is what, guys? Keys. Third one is what, guys? Constraints. Fourth one is what, guys? Triggers. Fifth one is what, guys?
Indexes.
Sixth one is what, guys?
Statistics.
Statistics, right? So these are the default table objects which is going to get in. Are you getting it now, guys? Now, what are the table name criteria? Can anyone tell me, guys? What are the table name criteria? Anyone? Okay. Yes, tell me.
The column name should not exceed the limit of 255 characters.
The SQL Server, there are specific criteria and rules that table names must follow. Here are the key criteria for SQL Server table names. The name should not be more than 128 characters. It is as same as what your database name. Allowed characters, alphabets A to Z, 0 to 9 numbers, underscore. It can take @ it can take hash, it can take as what? Dollar symbol, right? The first character, the table name should be starting with character or an underscore only. You can also start with, or you can use hash, but I'll tell you why we will not use hash now, okay? The table names cannot contain special characters such as periods, commas, space, slashes, or any other special character apart from what? Dollar symbol, @ hash. Reserve keywords, we cannot use the keyword of the SQL to a table name like select, create, insert, into. We cannot use there. Uniqueness, yes, table name should be very much unique in. Now schema qualification, table names can be schema qualified with a prefix of what? .dbo. DBO means database objects, right? My schema dot my table, like that. These are the schema which is also going to follow with what? Your table name. So here are some of the valid table name: my table, sales underscore data, order underscore tracking, my app underscore table. These are the table name which is very much valid. But the table name which is called my space table, it cannot be because it is having a space. Order dot tracking, it cannot be a table name because it is having a period, right? 123 orders, it is starting with a number that is going to throw an error. Select, it cannot be a table name because it's a keyword. My table dollar, it cannot be because it is coming with what? Dollar symbol is not allowed in the last character of a table name. So these are the something criteria we have to follow. Now guys, tell me, we'll go for checking the table name now.
Sir?
1 minute. These are what guys, your theories. Now let's do practical. Can it be a table name? Yes or no? Yes or no guys? So it's saying commands completed successfully. So that means it is going to accept as what? @ inside. Can it be a table name?
No, sir.
No. First of
No.
all, incorrect syntax with what? This.
Space.
Okay, tell me, can it be a table name?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, no, sir.
Why? Starting
Started
with
with number.
number. Yes or no? Can it be a table name with given dot?
No, sir. No, sir.
Why?
No, sir.
It contained dot. Period. It contained period.
Are you getting this, guys? Now, can it be a table name given dollar?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay. Understood now, guys, everyone? Yes or no? So now, if you run this table, what will happen? It's saying that table name is already exists because already we have created the table. Right. So now what we'll do the next, how to insert values into a table. Yes or no, guys? So how would you go for inserting the values to a table? What syntax you will follow now here, guys? Sorry. So you will write the
Insert into value.
Insert into values.
So you'll write the syntax here. Insert into the table name values S1. Why it is going to be in single quote? Because it's a character value, string value. Name is given as well as female and is given BTech as an education with date of inquiry and the course details is given. Can you see this, guys? Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now, like that, if you say insert, insert, insert multiple times, it will say the number of rows are affected. It's saying the table is created now with what? Select star from the table name is student underscore inquiry 2024. If you run this query, you get the output which is coming. Understood now, guys? How to go for inserting the values to a table, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, the next question is going to be how to drop a table. So how would you go for dropping a table, guys? What will write the syntax?
Drop table, table name.
Right. So you will write here drop table and the table name. If you do so, what will happen now here is that the commands completed successfully. Right. After this, if you write select star from this table, what message it will show you here? It will say invalid object name. Are you getting this, guys? Are you getting it? So there is a note we need to follow. When we drop a table, we are going to remove the table completely from the database. Yes or no? Right? Hence, it is much needed to have a business justification. Without having a proper written mail saying that you can go for dropping this table, we are not supposed to drop the table. If you drop the table, your job is lost. Trust me, guys. It's a very huge escalation will happen in the organization when you delete or drop any table without having any proper justification. Is this clear now? Since the table has been what dropped, what we have to know, we have to now let's create the table again. So how will you go for create the table? You will go for running this program here. Then you have to insert the values again. Then after inserting the values, how will you call this table? Select star from student underscore inquiry underscore 2024. You can see this table. Now the next question is coming. How to delete a table, right? So if somebody is going to ask you how to go for delete a table, what syntax for deleting a table, guys?
Delete table
Delete
name.
table name.
Delete just the table name. Yes or no? If you run this query, it is going to give you 8 rows are affected or deleted from the table. Does it make sense to all of you guys, everyone? Understood? So delete table will delete all the records from the table, right? However, table remain exists. Does it make sense to all of you guys?
Yes, sir.
If you call this now, what you see, your table is coming with what? Only the header, but there is no records inside. Since we have deleted all the records, let's insert records into the table now. So how do you go for doing that?
Insert into.
You like what? Insert into. You also write what? Select star from where? Does it make sense to all of you guys, everyone? Clear? Now, can we delete records based on the criterias? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Can I delete the table, right? Given a condition as well where age is greater than 26. If I do so, it says how many rows are affected now? 3 rows are affected. So now you don't see the table having any age less than 26 or greater than 26. Can you see this? Is this clear to all of you? Right. So we can use delete query for delete all the records or records based on the criteria. We can delete query for deleting all the records or records based on the criteria. Now the next question, how to truncate a table. So how will you go for truncating a table, guys?
Truncate table, table name.
Table name.
That's it. If you go for this, what is happening, guys, here? Commands completed successfully. Yes or no? After this, if you say select star from table name, what's the table name? It says headers are there, but there is no records inside. So truncate query will delete all the records from the table. However, it cannot delete the records based on criteria. Does it make sense to all of you guys, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now the interview question. Yes or no? This is a $1 million interview question which is being asked in every other interview you might have faced now, guys. What
Yes, sir.
is the difference between drop, delete, and truncate a table? Are you getting it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now, how to answer this question, guys, here? Okay. So this is the interview question. How to go for, what is the difference between drop, delete, truncate? You can say Drop table is used to remove an entire table from the database, including its structure, data, and associated objects like indexes, constraints, whatever you have, everything is going to be dropped or deleted, removed from the database. The delete statement can remove all the records, all the rows, or a subset of the rows based on the specific condition that you have given. Truncate table is used to remove all rows from a table, effectively clearing its data to add new data to that. Yes or no? I hope you can answer this now. For the next thing we're going to discuss about how to alter a table by what? Number one, adding column. Second one is called dropping columns. Third one is called as what? Renaming columns. Are you getting it, guys? Okay. So now we'll talk about these three things here. Okay. So now let's say alter table. What's the table name? Right. Since you have truncated this entire table, what we'll do now first, before going for altering, we'll start with, right? So what we'll do here, before going for what I was saying
insert
now.
value.
So
So inserting
we have
insert
to
value in the table.
insert values to a table. So how to do this now? Right. So what's the table now? You can see select star from the table. You can see the values are coming. What we have to do, we have to go for altering the table. Alter table what? This is the table. Add, you want to add two column. One is called institute name, which is varchar of what? That's a 15 character long. Are you getting it, guys? You also want to add location. Location is also going to be varchar of, let's say, 15 character long. So these are the two things you're adding to the table. Why location is coming in blue font? Because it is a keyword. But still, if you go for altering the table, let's see what is happening. It's saying commands completed successfully. Yes or no? Now, how to go for checking your table, right? What? Select star from this table. If you go there, what is happening, guys, here? You can see the two columns has been added. Now, this is called how to go for adding column. Okay. Now, we'll talk about how to go for dropping column, right? So how to do this? You will say alter table this. You will use what? Drop what? Column. Column name is what? Institute name, comma, location. If you run this query, what do you see here? Commands completed successfully. Now, if you go for running this query now, what do you see, guys, here? Does it show those two columns? No. Now, how to go for renaming the column? Can anyone tell me? Do you know how to go for renaming the column, guys?
Yes, sir.
Directly you can
Tell me
rename.
how.
By right clicking on its name.
But I'll not do that. I will not do that. How will I go for renaming the column? No, I will not use any alias, nothing. It will never work in SQL Server.
Using H.
Sorry? You will use, guys, system schema. A stored procedure, which is system schema, that is called SP underscore rename. Are you getting this? Then there you have to take the table name. What is the table name? Are you getting this? You will take the table name with what? The column name. Column name is date of inquiry. Now you want to call this column name as what? Date of inquiry, DOE, and it is going to be as what, guys? Your column. If you run this query now, it is saying as what? Can you see this?
But sir, here we have not used alter command.
No, we have not used alter. SQL Server doesn't take alter. We can either be going to the table to rename it, or we can use the stored procedure, which is system defined, right? Stored procedure for renaming. Now, if I run the program, I must see it has been changed to data of inquiry. Are you getting this, guys, everyone? Clear? How to rename this? Or what you can do? Select the table, go to column and rename the column. My system got hanged. Do not write anything in between through the annotation. कुछ हो गया. Somebody has done something. Do not use annotation, guys. Is this clear now, guys? How to go for renaming the column? How to alter the
Yes.
table is clear? Okay. Now, what is a constraint? Can anyone tell me, guys, what is a constraint?
Sir,
Whenever you're going to
rules
create a
understand.
table come with what? A columns. Column name values should be followed certain rules and regulations. Certain columns should be having unique values. Certain columns should not be having any null values. Certain columns should be checking the values by this. Certain columns should take this. This is called as a default values. So when you want to give a condition to a particular column while creating it in a table, that is called as your constraint. Okay. So if somebody is going to ask you tomorrow, can you please define what is constraint? You will say SQL constraint are rules or restrictions imposed on data in a database table to ensure data integrity, accuracy, and the consistency. Constraints define the way data can be inserted, updated, deleted in a table, right? Preventing invalid or constrained data from being stored into the table. That is why we have to have a constraint as a rule. There are different types of constraints. Yes or no, guys? Can you please tell me what are the different types of constraints? You know?
Null, not null.
Yes, sir. Unique, null, primary key, foreign key, check, default.
Very good. So we have null, not null, unique key, primary key, foreign key, reference key, check, default. These are 7 is called as your constraint in the table, right? What is the default constraint, guys?
Null.
Null.
No. Null.
Now, guys, I'll give you more examples on this one by one. Okay, now this is something I pasted here because I want to take you through one by one here. So we'll start with what? Null as a constraint. So default constraint in a table goes with null, ensures that column can have a null value. So when you create a table called student underscore enquiry underscore 2025, you have given as what student ID, varchar of 10. Have we used any constraint? No, we haven't used that. Student name with varchar of this. Have we used any constraint here? No, right? Age, int is the data type, but have we used any constraint? If you run this query, what you see? The commands completed successfully and your SQL Server enquiry 2025, which has been created here. Can you see this, guys? Now, if you go back to the columns, it shows the columns are coming with null as by default constraint to the table. If you do not define any constraint, null is a default constraint. If you insert the values, even if you have a blank values also, it will consider. Are you getting it? Okay. Now, what is called not null? Ensures that column cannot have a null value, right? For example, you're creating a table called employee table. In this employee table, what you have? Employee ID, right? Employee ID, forget about this primary key now. Remove this. Employee ID is what, guys? Integer. You will write what? Not null. Is this clear to all of you guys? Employee name, which is not null. Email ID, which is not. That means in this particular table, you will never find any values missing. All the columns will have full of information. If you run this query, you see your table has been created. If you go for inserting these values, now the ultimate table comes like this. Clear now? Now, if you go back to see the table name called employees, you don't see in the table called employees, you have any such column which says null, because it will show in the employees table. All these columns are saying not null, not null. Is that clear to all of you? Okay. Next is, we'll talk about here unique key. What is unique key? Ensures that all values in the column are different and it can have only one null value. One null value is also unique, right? But all the values in the table is going to be unique. For example, if you create student underscore ID, right? It can have S1, it can have S2, it can have S3, it can have S4, S5, it can also have a blank to S7. If it is a unique key, then it can have only one null value and rest all should be unique values. Is this clear to all? Okay. For example, you are creating a table called faculty table. Now you want to call this faculty name should be unique, right? Or you may have to call the faculty ID should be unique. Are you getting it? So you can use this here, Control X to put it here. You can use here not null to this. Does it make sense to all of you guys? Now, if you run this program, you can see you have created a table called faculties. Now, if you go back to the table and if you go to see the table name, which is called faculties, in this faculty, the columns, faculty ID is saying integer and it's showing null because it can have one null value, but is given as unique. But if you go to the keys, it is going to give one unique ID that is for the faculties. Are you getting this, guys, everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, there is an interview question in this, right? The question is like this. When okay, now we'll talk about the interview question. When we create a table with unique key, right? When we create a table with a column to unique key, what will be the constraint in the table view? What is the answer, guys?
Unique.
It will show null as a constraint with keys as unique. Are you getting this? We created, this is coming as null, but it is having a unique key because unique key can have one null value. Now the question is coming, can we create the table giving this not null and adding this as a unique? Can we do that? Guys, are you getting my question? Now let's
Yes, sir.
apply this question here. Okay. I'll give the question like this. Let's say faculty is version 1. Can we use not null with unique?
No, sir.
So tell me, guys, is it possible?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
Look at here what he's saying. No, why it is contradicting? Because unique key can be having new unique in nature can have one null value. Can have. It doesn't say that key it will have null value only. Are you getting it?
Same
Can
as
have one null
primary
value. Now, I'll show you. Just a minute. This is what the tricky question happens. If you go for this faculty's version 1 now, tell me what is the key is coming? See,
Unique.
it can take the unique key will have unique values. If you say not null, it will not have any null value. It's becoming primary key now. Now I will have given this definition below also here. So did you understand now, guys? Guys, did you understand?
Yes, sir.
So
Sir,
now, yes.
Sir, if we'll use this not null as well as unique, then it will become a primary key.
1 minute. Let me put my this thing here. See, if you're using not null and unique, it is becoming a primary key. Yes or
sir.
no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. show you here. Okay. What is happening here? You have to run this query first. The violation unique key contains with unique key. Okay, so it is already saying that the unique key is having the same name, cannot insert the duplicate key object. So you have to give a different object to this. That is fine. We'll give it later. So you understand what is happening. Already this unique key, it is already given to other table also. Can you see this now? Both are same or different? It's a different, but what is saying here? Violation is unique key constraint. Duplicate values in the key assigned. Okay, then we have to add unique key to some other column. It is going to accept because it's not going to accept to faculty ID, but it is creating the table with unique and not null. If you say what is primary key, a combination of not null and the unique key is called as a primary key. So for example, you are creating a student master table using student ID as what primary key. Now, if you run this query, what is happening? There is a student master table which is created here. In this student master table, if you go back to the table, it's saying there's a primary key symbol is coming. If you go to the primary key, it is showing PK, means primary key, which is applicable to the student. Can you see this, guys, everyone? Can you see this? Okay. Now, you can go for insert values to this table, and you can also see the values which is coming as a table now. What is called foreign key and reference key, right? So establish a relationship between two tables. Foreign key is one table, points the primary key in another table. So if you look at here, there is a course master table which is given course ID and the course name. And there is an admission master table which is given admission ID with student ID and the course ID. If you look for both the tables, what is the common field? Course ID? Yes or no? Now, when you are joining these two tables, now in this course master, course ID would be primary because it should be unique in nature. Are you getting this, guys, everyone? Guys, those are online. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is happening here? That course ID is primary key in one table, but the same course ID in admission table is called as a foreign key reference to the course master table with course ID is a column. That is how we have to make a relationship. For example, student ID is the primary key in student master. And if you want to join this table with admission table student ID, you have to say that it is foreign key reference to the student master table with student ID. Now, this is how you are going to make a relationship between multiple tables, defining your primary key and the reference key. Is this clear? Okay. Now, how does it look like if you go to the admission master table? If you get into the master table, admission master table, what is it coming now, guys? Primary key is coming here. And these are what? Foreign keys. It is coming as what? PK means primary key, FK means foreign key. If you go to the keys, there are two foreign keys and one primary key is showing here. Did you understand? Okay. Now you can go for inserting the values to the table to see how your table looks like. Next is called constant called check. What we are doing here, we are creating an order master table where we are taking order ID is what? Primary key. Order date is what? Date. Now you are going for total, which is going to decimal values with 10 decimal, before decimal 10 digits, after decimal 2 digits. This is what you're given as a decimal. Now, you are saying a constraint for the total field, check it should be greater than equal to 0. So it should not be greater than equal to, it should not be less than 0 as a total value. This is how we are given check. Now, if you run the program here after this table, you can see your table order master is created here, right? Now, we need to see how this constraint is going to come and show in the table when you say order master table with what, guys? With the check constraint. Does it show check constraint somewhere here? No, right? If you go to the keys, what does it show here? It's a primary key. Does it show here? No, right? If you get in the constraint, there is showing the check. Clear now, guys? So check will not come under keys. Check will come under the constraint. So now this is the different. This is the interview question. What is the difference between keys and constraints? Can you answer that? Guys, can you answer that? Tell me. Keys will be indicating in the keys object of a table, right? Check and default are the constraint will indicate or will reflect into the constraint object. Is this clear now, guys? Can you answer that? Now, what is default constraint? You are creating a table called log details. When you run the program, you remember I said that there is something called query store as an object. All the logs are going to store there. So whenever we are going to create any table to keep all the logs, we are writing that create table log details, which is going to have a log ID as a primary key. Log messages is going to store here. Log time as default get date time. That means whenever the code will run, the same time is going to save as a default time, right? So that we can understand who run this code, at what time they run the code. If you run this code like this, with this default, how do you do that? Insert into log details the table, log ID and log message, but you are not putting anything for log time because it will take the default log time into this. Can you see this, guys? Another example, you will say, chalo sir, this is what we understood. Can you show it in a table? Now in the table here, we are creating student inquiry 2026, where we have student ID, student name, age, gender, education, date of inquiry, and course. Can you please tell me, these are all columns. What is the constraint? What is the constraint is there?
Null.
The
Null.
default constraint. Very good. Now you are adding a column called institute name, which is varchar of 20 character, and default the institute name which is given as what? DB analytics. Now if you run this query, you can see your table is created, right? At the same time, if you're inserting the values, you're inserting the values up to what? The course only. You are not putting the values for what? Institute name. But still, after inserting the values, you see it is coming as DB underscore analytics. Is this clear? Very good. Clear now, guys? Now we'll talk about here, guys. Can we have two primary key in a table? Answer is what?
No, sir.
No, we cannot have.
No.
So now let's try this. Create this table called employees, where you have employee ID and the first name you're putting primary key. If you run this query, what the message is coming? Cannot be having multiple primary key. Can you see this, guys? Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Right. Can we have a column? Can we have a column in the table having both not null and primary key as a constraint? Can we have a null and primary key together? Null and unique we heard, right? But can we have null and primary key together? Yes or no?
No, sir.
First of all, we have to say, let's say this is version 1. If I run this query, it is created, right? Answer is yes, we can have. Not null and unique. Both are going to create as a primary key. Not null can also go with primary key because primary key is by default is going to have a veto power to take everything as a unique. But this is the question. Can we have both? Answer is yes. Can we have with unique? Answer is yes. Not null can go with unique. Not null can go with primary. Can we have can we have null with primary key? Yes. If you don't define anything, it's a primary key only, right? No. My question is that, so if you don't define anything, it is null. A primary key can also take, right? Are what
Yes,
are
sir.
you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
If you go for creating version 2, see, I'm saying I'm not going to write anything here. Will it take or not? Tell me.
Yes.
So by default is what?
Not
Okay. Now you're saying, can I have null to add this?
No, it won't happen. Sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. Because primary key cannot have a null value.
Right. But I can write primary key. Yes or no? Yes. Remember, these are the questions we sometimes asked and you may be fumbled to answer. So now you can remember. Okay. Can we have a table with multiple unique keys? What do you say?
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes.
Unique key. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Multiple unique keys.
We can have multiple unique keys. Can we have a table with one primary key and two multiple unique keys?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Answer is yes, we can have. Yes or no? Are you getting it? Now the next question is coming. Alter a table, adding and dropping the constraint. What we are doing? We have this table here. We are adding with the student ID with what? not null. Is it okay? Then student ID, student name, age, gender, education, date of inquiry. These all details are given to a table. Now, if you run this program, you see your table has been created without having any values. Now I'm saying alter table to this constraint. I'm adding a constraint name is called primary key to the student ID. And this is primary key is constraint to be added to student ID in the table. If I run this program, is it going to create or not? It is created. So how would you check that now? If you go back to the table, if you see student NK 2027, if you look at the table now, there's a primary key is given and the primary key is also given here. If we say alter table, this table and drop the constraint as the constraint name. If you do that, what will happen now? If you go back to the table and refresh, you don't see any primary key and you don't see any keys coming here because you have dropped it. Understood? Name of the constraint. Add constraint name as constraint type to the column. Sorry? No, we are giving constraint name as PK for our own understanding. Even if you don't do anything, that is also going to work. You can write your own name also, wrinkle, that is going to work. Right? If you run this query, what do you see here, guys? You created the table, but did you add any constraint to this? Now I can add what constraint saying alter table name this, add constraint as UQ. I'm just for my understanding, I'm giving UQ to the student ID. If I run this query, my constraint has been created. If I go back to the table, I can see in that there's a table has been created with a name called same table, right? Or which is the table we created now? Right. So now if you say run this query, if you refresh, you can see the column keys will not come, but here okay. So can you tell me what is happening, guys, here? This table is there. Okay. So you cannot get. Okay. Now can we change something like this to run? Does it work? Now if you say refresh and going to the table with the name is coming here. So that means in the same database, in multiple tables you can create, but you cannot give the same primary key name. You cannot give the same unique key name. Is that okay? Very good. So this is called what, guys? You can say alter table. Now you can go for dropping the constraint from this table. Yes or no? Clear now? Example. This is what is given example for check. So we got this table name is called 3. In this third table, do we have any constraint? Everyone? No constraint. What we're doing here, we are adding a constraint to this. Yes or no? So what are you doing? Alter table name, add constraint. Constraint name is what? Check age. What you're putting, age should be greater than 20. If we run this program, the check constraint is created now. Now you tell me where this check constraint is going to come. Or it will come in keys.
Constant.
Are you sure it is not going to be in keys?
Yes, sir, I'm sure.
Will it show here? Will it show at age?
sir.
No. Is it going to come here?
No,
But it will come here as what? CHK age as the constraint name. Understood? How to drop this? Now, will it show here now? No. Okay. How to add default as a constraint? If you run this program, you get the new table is created. Now you're adding a constraint with what? Course value as what? API IDs. The course field which you have it, by default, it will take the value of what? API IDs. So now if I run this query, what I'm writing, alter table name with what? Version 4, right? Add constant name is what? Course value, default as what? The value is this. If you run this query, it is added now. Where to check this now, guys? Where do you check this?
In constant, sir.
Right. So first you go to table to refresh. You should see this version 4. You can go to the constraint. You can see the constraint for check is given here. Now how to go for removing this? Alter table name, drop constraint name. Does it make sense to all of you guys? Clear now? You don't see the constraint is coming. Okay. How to add an auto identity to a particular table? Now you're creating this table name is what? Version 5, where you're having a row number of you are given auto identity of starting with what? 1, 1, which is given student ID as varchar, student name as varchar, age is integer, gender is integer, education is varchar, date of entry. Now, if you run this program, you have created the table successfully. Now, if you run the program with select star from, the table name is what? Student inquiry 2007. If you run this query, what is happening guys here? It does not show any values inside. Now, to put the values, what you write here? Insert into the table name and the values. Yes or no, guys, everyone? Can anyone tell me why student ID is coming in single quote?
So because it's string
Because
value.
it's a character. Why name is coming in single quote? Because it's a character. Why age is not coming in single? Because it's a integer. Are you getting it? Now your date value should be going with what format? MMDDYY. It cannot be DDMMYY. Is that okay? Now what will happen if you say DDMMYY? It will throw an error. Now we insert the values to the table now, and to check the table, what we'll write here? We'll write this query. Did we get this output? Okay. Now what is the auto identity happen? Because of this first field called row number, did we add any values to the row number here? No, right? It is automatically creating the identity as what? 1, 2, 3, 4, because it is given 1, 1. Each row will add, it will say 1 plus 1 plus 1, like 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 1, 4, like that is going to create the row number up to 8. Yes or no? Now, how to go for creating your auto identity starting with 1001 row number? So what will you do in this case, guys? Here, you are creating your table as 6. Yes or no? In this 6, you are writing auto identity of the row number with what? Starting with 1000 to 1. That means 1000, 1001, 2, 3, 4, it will come. Yes or no? So now, if you run this program, you can see the table has been created with what? This. Now you can insert the values to the table to see the values are coming in this form. If you run this program, it will show the auto identity starting from what? 1000, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 7. Does it make sense to all of you guys, everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So now we understand about different types of constraints, and we also understand how to go for alter a table by adding constraint or dropping the constraint. What is called auto identity and how it is important, that you will get to know in real time when situation comes. We'll talk about it, right? But at least at this point of time, we understood how to use auto identity, right? Assis, are you there in the class? Okay. Now, how to import and export data using SQL Server wizard. Guys, have I ever shown you how to go for creating your SQL Server integrated services SSIS package? Have I showed you ever have I showed? No, right? We
No,
have
sir.
never showed any SSIS package. Okay, no
No, sir.
problem. Okay, okay. It's okay. I'll show you now. So for that, we have to use the controller, the taskbar to integrate the process. But before that, if you want to go for importing and exporting data into SQL Server, what we do first, we go for selecting the SQL Server. We go to right click, do a task, go to the import data. The moment you say import data, it will open welcome to SQL Server, import and export wizard. Before 2005 SQL Server, normally we use DTS, data transfer system. So now DTS has been changed. Whenever we want to import data, it will automatically create your SSIS package. So how this SSIS package is going to create, for example, you selected welcome to SQL Server import export wizard. The moment you go to next, guys, please go on mute. You choose the file that you want to read it from, Excel file. You will browse the location where your file is located. For example, I'm going to locate the file that is in the crash course, SQL, raw data. I go for importing this file, which is called made_new_2016.xlsx file. By default, it is saying that it is 2007, 2010, and it is automatically tick the first row contents as your header. In the next, when you go here, it's saying that the destination, you have to choose the destination should be getting into SQL Server service provider. Then it is selected your database, which is called SQL Prep 2024, which is your active database at this point of time. If you go to the next, it's showing that in that particular Excel file, number of seats you have. So it is showing the number of seats are given like this. Right? It's saying copy data from one or more tables or the views, but we are going to read the data from a table. And I call this table name should be made_2024. I can always go for edit mapping. Yes, please go on mute. I can go for edit mapping. where we are talking about these are the field name. It's showing the destination field. The source file field name is customer ID. The destination name is coming to this as a customer ID. If you want to change, you can change it here also, or you can leave it as it is. For example, I have a spent space amount. I can go for making this as what? Spent underscore amount. If I want to change the data type, I can go for changing the data type. Now the question is coming in SQL Server is that what is float means? Float means whenever you have a column with more than 8 digits, it will give it as a float or big int, big integer value. So it is by default going for float. If the value is coming in varchar, if you have a character value which contains some special character, plus, space, dot. In the company, you have made space plus. In the company, Dr. Dot Reddy's apostrophe S is also there. Yes or no? Such kind of punctuations or the special characters, it will change it to n varchar. Else, it will go as what? Varchar. Problem is that while it is reading one column as a n varchar, it will read all the columns as n varchar, whether it is there or not. So hence, it is reading all these column character fields as n varchar. Is that clear? When the field value is coming date and time, is reading date and time. Clear? By default, what is the character length is taken here? 255. If you want, you can reduce the size of this also here by the time of reading, so that it will occupy less memory in your SQL Server. So somebody is going to ask you, how will you go for performance tuning in your SQL Server? You will say by the time of reading data, we can go for edit mapping, we can go for changing the data type, we can go for changing the length of the character. By default, numerics or date times are 8 bytes, which is 16 to 17 digits. You don't have to define anything for that. Is that okay? For the character, you can reduce 255 to 25. How does it matter? You can do it. Yes or no? Then you can also preview. The preview will help you how to see the table, how your table looks like while you're going for importing. You say, I'm all fine now. Go to the next. The moment you go to next, you can save this to as a SSIS package. Are you getting this? If you want to store this as a SSIS package, every time you go for importing the same file, same location, you don't have to go and select it. It will automatically just call this SSIS package, it will import. But we will not go for saving anything as SSIS package because it will also occupy my memory. Are you getting this, guys, everyone? Then moving to the next, I will say finish. The moment I say finish, it is reading the data and is going to show you have read 5,112 rows have been affected. So now if you run this query, you can see the output which is coming here now. So guys, what speed you're seeing through your student edition or learning edition, if you take to the enterprise edition of the SQL Server, you don't see these five. These will come in seconds, a fraction of seconds, you can import the file. Is this clear now? So how would you go for checking your table? If you select, if you say refresh, going back to this and going to the table, if you see the table is given as what? Made underscore 2024. Can you see the column by default will come as what? Null. This is the only problem happens, but we can change the data type also by the time of edit mapping. Is this clear? Now you can see the spent underscore amount has been changed. It was spent space amount. Now it is spent underscore amount. Clear now? So already we know how to go for importing data. Now I can say select star from made underscore 2024. If I run this program, what I see, my table is coming here, right? Below the query executed successfully. I'm running this query in my local server. It is a local path where my SQL Server has been installed. It is given the database name, which I'm using currently now. It is giving how much processing time and how many rows are affected. It also reflects here under the results and the message is it saying 5,112 rows are affected by running this query. You got to know how to go for importing data. Now, importing data from a text file. So this is called importing data from XLSX file. Now we'll talk about importing data from .txt file. So how would you go for doing this? You will say right click, go back to your database, right click, you will choose as what? Flat files. If you go to the flat file, it will ask you search and browse the file. Where you want to browse the file? It is going to raw data. You have given made underscore new underscore 2016.txt file. The moment you click on this file, the table name you want to give it as what? May 2024. And I'll call this table name as .txt. Yes or no, guys? Then you can go to the next. You can see your table, whether it's looking correct or not. You can check it out here. Then go to the next, where you can also select the primary key. You can allow the constraint here, whether it is null or not null. Or if you want, you can select this is what it is automatically selected underscore here because as per the naming convention, you don't have to change it. Next, what is happening here? So guys, what table name I give it? Made underscore 2024 dot underscore txt. Now it's saying that import information name is given as a desktop, database is SQL Server Prep 2000, SQL Prep 2024. It is the table name is given like this and the file path is given from where I am reading the data. This is called summary of the compilation, right? What is called this as some summary of compilation. Then go to the finish. The moment it's a finish, it's throwing an error. Can you tell me why it's throwing an error? What it's saying here, guys? Customer ID should be changed to the different data type. So what we'll do here, go to the previous, look at the customer ID and you have to change it to what? Float. You remember that Excel file? Now go to the next again. Now it is reading, yes or no? And close it. How will you check the table now? Select star from made underscore 2024 underscore txt file. Now if you run this query, you can see your entire table is being reflected here. Making sense to all of you guys? How to go for importing data from .csv file, right? So how do you go for reading data from a CSV file? Say right click, go to task, go for import flat file. What will you choose here, guys? You'll be choosing the file which is given as .csv. Yes or no? What you will call this here? Made underscore 2024 underscore CSV file. Making sense to all of you guys, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right? Then next, what you see here, guys? It is given customer. Will it throw an error? So what will
Yes.
change here now? Yes or no? Then you can go to next. You can see the summary of compilation and data has been imported. What you can write here? Select star from made underscore 2024 underscore CSV file. If you run this query, you can see the output is coming. Yes or no? Now, how to export data to an Excel file? So how do you go for exporting data to an Excel file, guys? Right click, task data, and you will say export data. In the export data, the welcome to SQL Server import export wizard is coming. You can say next. What would be the data source for you here now, guys? SQL Server provider, service provider. What is going to be your destination, guys? It is an Excel file. So the moment you get into the next, you will choose at what? Excel file. You will browse the location, going back to the output folder. You save this file called made underscore 2024 dot xlsx. Right? Next. What is the table you'll go for exporting now, guys? Made 2024. Next, and so finish. If you go back to your folder now, if you go back to the folder, you can see in the output, the file is coming with made underscore 2024. Can you see this, guys? .xlsx file is coming. If you open this file now, why it is throwing an error? Can anyone tell me? Because still it is processing here. And why it is taking time? Because we have this learning edition. Shall I tell you guys, those who are the good programmer, those who want to be an expert in SQL Server, what they do, they read this entire window. They understand what is happening. They understand what is going on. They understand what are the things are getting ticked over here. So that tomorrow you are guiding somebody will work like a consultant. Why I got the error, guys? What is it saying? Customer ID, which are exporting, is coming as what? Double. So what should you do now? Back, back, back. What will you do here? The customer ID, which you have it, right? The table is here, right? Edit mapping. You will say edit mapping. What will choose it here as? Does it come? 1 minute, 1 minute. Does it come here? Does it come? No, right? So what should I go for choosing here? Here? I'll go for where it is given big int. Do you see somewhere big int is there? Right? So how would you go for presenting this data which is going to be exported? Because double is not getting added now. So how should you go for doing this? Tell me guys, what is the right approach for sending this data?
Can we use varchar, sir?
Can we use what?
Varchar?
We can use sort here. Sort is itself is going to be your varchar. Now let's see what is happening. See, while you are reading data, it is reading as float. While you're exporting data, the float is not accepting to export to the Excel file, right? So how would you go for exporting this? You'd be exporting as what? We'll see. Again, showing error. So that means it is not taking short also. So what should be the next?
Worker.
So now edit mapping, change it to. So look at here. Make it as a varchar. Now let's go for exporting this time. Still it's showing error. Yes or no? Varchar is also not taking. So what is the next thing it can take through? Sorry? Customer ID. How do you want to go for sending this to guys? Tell me. It is not taking. I am also doubtful which one will take. Let's see if it is working. If that throws an error,
Sorry, if you choose single,
whatever you will say, now I'll do it. Okay. If long is not working, will single will work? I doubt. Let's see. Anyways, guys, so I have to check why this error is coming. It was not coming earlier. So let me see.
Long text.
Maybe. Let's try in decimal. Something wrong, guys. I'll check it. I'll let you know. So that's not a big deal. Let me go for right click on this, going for task to export data. I will choose this time from SQL Server Service Provider. I will choose to send the file into a flat file. I look for the file location, call made underscore 2024. Next, I choose the same table as made underscore 2024. Say edit mapping. I can see this field name is okay. Next, next, and say finish. So if this is going to throw an error with a text file, then something wrong in the table that we are trying to export. I'll let you know in the next class. But it is a good practical, guys. Tomorrow, if you're appearing for the interview, they will ask you, right, what are the challenges you're faced through? You will say sometimes we read the data as float, as a numeric value, right? While you are exporting the data or connecting to another database server, the float data type is not accepted by other server. So that is where the error comes. So this bug to clear, sometimes we feel like the program is running, but because of this data type, we get the error. These are the challenges we face. Okay, guys, now you can see the file has been exported here to a text file and it is coming with comma delimiter. Making sense to all of you guys? Okay. Now the next question is coming. How to describe a database? Guys, how will you go for describing a database?
Information underscore.
And
Select
schema.
star from information underscore schema dot columns. If you do that, what is happening? It is going to show you the database along with table names. Can you see this? Right? So this gives you the database and list of tables inside this with field details. Making sense to all of you guys? Yes or no? Now, how to describe a database with the list of tables? So how to answer this question, everyone? Can you?
Sir, Start from information under schema dot tables.
Select star from information underscore schema dot
Tables.
tables. You can see all these list of tables inside the database which you have created. Now the next question coming, how to describe a table with list of columns and the data types. How to do this, guys?
Select start from information schema dot columns where table name equal
Select
to
star from information underscore schema dot columns where table underscore name is equal to made underscore 2024. If you run this query, it is going to give you as what? The table with list of columns. Yes or no? And the data types and other parameters of the schema is given here. Next is how to see the number of fields in a table. Number of fields or columns. How to answer this, guys?
Select count of
Select count star
From table name.
From
from information underscore schema
underscore schema dot
columns
columns
where table
is equal to. Does it get you the output, guys? 24 columns are there, right? How to see the number of records in a table?
Select count star from table name.
There are two ways to do this. Select count star from made underscore 2024. Yes or no? Are you getting it? Select count star from made underscore 2024. Now my next question to you, right? Without using this, can I get the output from this? Can I get the record from this? Will it work? Count of table is coming, right? So if I run this query here without writing this, what it will give you?
all
There are
the
20
tables.
there are 25 tables in the database. This is called to see the count of tables inside a database. पता था ये पहले से?
No, sir.
no sir.
Okay, now how to see the top 10 records of a table or from a table?
Select top 10 star from table name.
हाँ ये तो इजी है, इसका नेक्स्ट वाला क्वेश्चन का आंसर देना. Select top 10 star from made underscore 2024. Are you getting this, guys? Now tell me how to see last 10 records. Last 10 records from a table. How to answer this question? Who can answer this?
Order by descending.
Select first, we will sort it in descending order, then we will select
Select
top 10.
top 10 star from made underscore 2024. Order by customer I. Take a field in what? Descending. Now the field which is going to be, or you have to create a row number to do this. Yes or no? This is also easy, right? Now answer this question. How to see top 10 percentage records from a table.
Select top 10% star from table name.
This is also easy, right? Now I have a very important question after this. You can just select top 10%, then star from made underscore 2024. Right, guys? Top 10% means 5,000 something will come. 512 records are coming. Sorry, 512 records are coming. Now, how to select records from 100 to 200 from a table? From the row number 100 to 200. अब बताओ.
We'll use the
Go for
fetch
the row
function.
number and where.
No, I will not. I will not go to create any row number, but I want to get this result. How should I get it? Tell me.
Fetch next 100 was only
Will I what?
offset 100.
Star from which table? May 2024, guys. Then you have to use what? Order by the field name, which is going to be custom underscore ID. Then we have to use your offset. Offset will
100.
start from what? The reference. The reference is 99. Starting from 100, it will go 99 rows to fetch. How many rows you will go for fetch? Next 101. That means you'll go for 200 rows only. This is the syntax in SQL we follow. Can you see? 101 records are coming. Does it make sense to all of you guys?
Yes.
Yes or no? Right. Now the next question. How to select random 100 records from our table?
Select top 100 star
Order by new ID.
from table name. Order by new ID.
You will say select top 100 star from made underscore 2025. Order by new ID bracket start close. This is how you will get as what? 100 random records are coming, guys, everyone. Yes or no? You can see the customer ID is randomly coming, right? Now the next thing, we are about to finish the class, guys. How to select the distinct values of a column. What will you do now for this?
Select distinct.
Select distinct company from made.
Select company from made underscore 2024. What is happening? It's selecting the entire company field. If you write select distinct, what will happen now? Yes or no? If you want to select count of distinct, what will happen? It will give you count of distinct company name in this. What is coming to how much? How much? 9 only. Does it make sense to all of you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right. Now, how to select distinct values from multiple columns? So, how to answer this, guys?
Select distinct all column name.
First of all, select company, state underscore code, gender from the table name, May 2024. If you run this query, what is happening, guys, here? All these columns are coming. So I can apply what? Select only distinct here to get. Now it is coming 5112 records. When you go for distinct, what is happening is going to give you all the distinct values here, which is to 146. Corresponding, keeping all three columns together, it is going to give you the unique records for each row. Are you getting it? Can we get the count of this 146? Yes or no? Can we get count of these 146? Answer is no. Answer is no. Incorrect syntax. It never happens. Are you getting it, guys? You cannot take count of distinct with multiple columns. Are you getting it? Now the question is coming. Can I get count by individual columns? Huh? Are you sure? No, are you sure? Okay, let's see what is happening. Somebody says yes. We will try to see what is happening, right? What is that? Will it work now, guys? So unique column has what? 9 for company and 7 for state code and 3 for gender. Is that clear now? Okay. How to use alias to a table name?
As
So what you do here, you write select star from made underscore 2024. If you run this query, you are selecting the entire table. You can also write here select a dot star from made underscore 2024 as table A. That is also okay. Everyone, are you getting this? You can also write how to call columns using from a table using table alias. Are you getting it? So you would be calling the column using table alias. What does that mean? Select a dot customer ID, a dot company, right? A dot gender, a dot age, a dot state underscore code, a dot spend underscore amount from made underscore 2024 as A. If you run this program, it is getting those output here. Now, how to select few columns from a table to call. So how do you write this program, guys, here? Select customer underscore ID, company, gender, age, state underscore code, and spend underscore amount from made underscore 2024. So this is what you are selecting these few columns from the table, right? Now the next question, how to use alias to column names. So how to go for using these guys here? The same query, you will be calling this as subscriber ID. This you will call this as business name. Gender as, sex here is as, customer age, state code as, called province, and spent amount as, called spent. We can use alias to call the column names. Can you see this? Yes or no? Next is coming, how to create a new table from an existing table. So how do you do that, guys, here? Select star into new table, made new from the table name is made underscore 2024. If you run this query, you got a new table called made new. How to check this table now? Select star from made underscore new. Yes or no? So we use into clause before from clause to create a new table. Now, same way, if I want to store these two, a new table called made version 1, I will write before from made underscore 2024 version 1. Yes or no, guys? If I run this query, I can see my table is created. And what is the table name? Made underscore 2024 version 1. Making sense to all of you guys? Now the last one, how to create a new table from an existing table from a different database. Do you know that? Guys, do you know that? No? Seriously? Okay. Look at here. How many databases are there? So many databases are there. Now let's say there's a batch 2024-01. Look at the table. Can you see there is something called as made Apollo table is there? Yes or no? So I want to get this made Apollo table to which database? SQL prep. So I write here, select star into made Apollo from, right? What is the database name here? Batch 2024. Right, this is the database name. Dot. What is the table name? So you have to use double dot here. If you run this query, you can see in this current database, the table has been created as made Apollo. Can you check this? And you can also go back to your database. You can see the made Apollo is created here somewhere. Do you see made Apollo is there, guys? Is it coming? So this is how we can go for getting from different database now. So ultimately, we have completed the entire content for the session 1 now.